And welcome back to the Hot Lap. We're talking Drive to Survive, Series 7, Episode 4, titled Carlos Sainz. Yeah, S-I-G-N-S. Do you see what they did there? So, ultimately, it ends up with, as we all know, spoilers, but not really, Carlos signing with Williams. But it's quite the journey to get there. Significantly, he nearly signed for Alpine. And I did not know how close he was signing for Alpine until this episode. The other team, so to speak, that really wanted him was Stake, which is ultimately going to be the Audi team in 2026. But let's see what happens there. So episode 4, Carlos Sainz. Which lower midfield team will Sainz choose? So, as you know, it starts off with Carlos Sainz being booted out of Ferrari unceremoniously. Yeah. It's, well, Williams, Sauber or Alpine seem to be the obvious choices. And they've got here, it might have been one of the dreariest storylines of 24 when it happened in real time. But this is one of the better Drive to Survive episodes. A lot of people, even on Reddit, have suggested they really like this one. Sainz being dumped by Ferrari left him kind of bitter. And he did have, and it was notable in the media reports as well coming out when you follow the season, there was definitely a hesitation into what team he wanted to sign. Now, Hornet amusingly said you can imagine James Vowles at the Church of England Reverend marrying Sainz and Williams. But then the Grove boss gets stood up at the altar. We'll talk about, he did. It looked like he was going to sign. James Vowles was in there. The champagne was literally on ice. Sadly, the ice was melting and Carlos didn't turn up. Just didn't turn up. I really felt for James. The latter, obviously, James Vowles, was really determined throughout the whole episode to sign Carlos Sainz. He said himself, it would be a complete transformation of Williams to have Carlos by my side. I go to sleep and wake up thinking of nothing else. Okay, but Sainz hesitates as family friend Flavio Briatore intervenes, trying to get him to join his Alpine instead, but in the end he chooses Williams anyway. Oh well, says the article. And let's talk about Flavio Briatore returning with Alpine. He was good for Benetton. He won, obviously. He helped win, I guess, in Benetton in obviously the 94 and 95 season, built that team up. Again with the Renault team. I would make an argument that Pat Simmons, for example, maybe more, I don't know, but he won. Now, if you obviously read articles, read interviews about Flavio Briatore, he was, I don't want to say disrespected, but amongst the engineers, he was on the radio a lot, and they gave him his own radio channel with, and they put him supposedly to a channel where no one was able to listen to him because he was such a distraction. Yeah. So, I guess he knows about maybe running the team at large, but little about the intricacies of Formula 1, maybe. Maybe I'm being too harsh. But also, this is a man that quite happily cheated in the 2008 Singapore Grand Prix with obviously Simmons and Nelson Piquet Jr. by asking him to have a spin where they have to bring up the safety car, where Fernando Alonso would win. Now, there's many people that still think Fernando Alonso must have known about it. It is difficult to think maybe he didn't. We'll never know. But with Flavio Briatore, the return, it was kind of a big deal. A lot of people suggested he was just there to sell the Alpine team. As in to get it into a state of selling it. I mean, we've lambasted it here on this very channel. Alpine is the works Renault team. Alpine essentially being their special division, kind of like Cosworth was for Ford at one point, kind of like AMG is for Mercedes. But, let's have Mercedes engines in our works Renault team, shall we? Oh dear. And upset loads of people and looked like an absolute bunch of amateurs, I think. But the team was coming on strong. Now, maybe Flavio has the skills to organise everyone, because that team did do better. They did do a massive turnaround come the end of the year. And after pre-season testing this year, they're looking quite good. But we're not talking about that. We are talking about Flavio Briatore. I don't think he should be back. I mean, he basically said to his critics they can basically all do one and told them to F off, essentially. There we go, yeah. I don't have too much respect for that man, if I'm honest. But this is the thing. This is one of the reasons why the Williams team wanted a driver. of Carlos Sainz caliber, because this is a car. No, it wasn't Alex Albon in Australia. This was, I believe, in Japan, driven by a certain American driver by the name of Logan Sergeant. Yeah, and this was a theme for Williams throughout the year. Basically, their cars getting absolutely ruined by mainly the other, the number 2 driver. But Alex Albon also did his best. Ergo Australia, for example. I kind of feel sorry, and this was the thing that destroyed the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak. Well, this is Logan Sergeant putting it into the wall, destroying another car at the Dutch Grand Prix in Holland, and I think that was his last weekend. And then I believe it was all about Colapinto, which is interesting. So this is it, and it led to Carlos Sainz signing for Williams, but he did have a teaser, and James Vowles was sitting there in this one particular episode, twiddling his thumbs, waiting, as you will, for Carlos Sainz to come down the corridor of the hotel, knock on the door, drink the champagne that was on ice, and sign away. And they all lived happily ever after. But that did not happen. And there's an article here that I want to get into about it. Sainz's 3-word reply on why he didn't sign Williams' contract after the 2024 Spanish Grand Prix. Now, if you remember, that essentially it was, I don't know what happened there. Essentially, the word was he was going to sign for the Spanish Grand Prix, or at the Spanish Grand Prix, for Williams. And it says here, Carlos Sainz nearly ditched Williams for Alpine last year. That's obviously revealed by the Netflix Drive to Survive. He didn't show up for a meeting with Vowles because he got an offer from Alpine executive advisor Flavio Briatore. Now, as we know, Sainz dominated the headlines of the highly volatile market last year. He was the key linchpin. Once he was established, everyone believed everything else would fall into place. His negotiations with Williams had by then reached an advanced stage, and the team was ready to announce Carlos Sainz as a Williams driver. But in episode 4 of season 7, Vowles was ready with the contract paper, and I did really feel for him. If it was shot like that, he just didn't show up. It was really sad. Netflix producer quizzed him about what led to him changing, and he said Flavio Briatore called me. Briatore returned as Alpine's executive advisor and obviously approached Sainz with an offer which prompted. And he added, Alpine started to become more appealing since Flavio Briatore arrived to the team. He's been extremely convincing or extremely insistent in me joining the project. However, James Vowles did catch wind of it, and he dialed up Sainz's manager asking about the details of Alpine's offer. He also reassured Carlos is the only drive Williams is targeting and won't settle for anything else, and eventually things worked out in Williams' favour. One thing that I was disappointed in Carlos Sainz, and I appreciate probably happens in Formula 1 circles, kind of like a douchey move. Not turning up, I think, was a douchey move in terms of he didn't even call James Vowles saying, look, I'm not turning up, I've received an offer elsewhere, can we put this on hold? No. If it is true and he just decided not to turn up, completely, I did lose a lot of respect for Carlos Sainz there. I don't know if anyone else did. I just think that's rude, plainly. And anyone that turns around and goes, well, that's what it works, that's what you do. Well, you don't have to, do you? It is a choice. And he was rude, showing the middle finger to my favourite team boss, James Vowles. Going forward, I am really glad, to be fair, that Carlos Sainz has signed. One other thing, which I thought was quite interesting, was Will Buxton said about after Max. He said, I think, after Max Verstappen, Carlos Sainz is the best. It suggested that Carlos Sainz is the second best driver. Yes, he was arguably the most on-form driver at the beginning of the year. Second best, I don't know. I still rate, I think, Charles Leclerc is better than Carlos Sainz. That's kind of a fact, isn't it, when you look at both of them over the years. Prime Lewis Hamilton, obviously, but we don't know how prime Lewis Hamilton is. I would probably, somewhat controversially, also pick Lando Norris and maybe George Russell on Sainz's level, if not maybe a bit better, but definitely on Sainz's level. But that's just me. So let's get into the discussion of the thread. So this is the Reddit for season 7. I'm cracking up how Flavio shows up on the scene, and then someone's put the music comes on like he's a Disney villain. I think he is a bit of a villain, isn't he? And they're saying by far the best episode. Yeah, heck, one of the best in the series. The answer Flavio gave to DTS producer when asked if he could even be back in F1 has so menacing atmosphere. I love it. Carlos's cousin just looks like Nerd Carlos, and his name is Carlos. My G for calling them the Carly. Yeah. This episode tried to beat Succession with music billionaires and pirate villains. Okay. Gasly really wanted Sainz to come to Alpine. He was propping Enstone to hell to try and convince him. Can't say he didn't want a strong teammate. And they're saying you've got to respect Gasly. I kind of felt for James waiting half an hour and not knowing if they'll come, and then later finding out why they're not, that they're not coming. I understand Carlos in a way, but kind of looks scummy. Yes, vroom vroom boo. Completely agree with you there. I could not have said it better myself. When they pulled off the champagne off ice, oh god, I know. Well, he got the girl in the end, or not the girl, Carlos. I mean, yeah, he did. It was, to be fair, it was a happy ending. And on that happy ending note, if you made it to the end, please, if you can, give us a subscribe. That would be absolutely amazing if you're not subscribed. But just clicking on this video is more than enough for us. If you want to help that bit more, hit the like button, comment below, let us know what you thought about this episode of Drive to Survive, Season 7, Episode 4, Carlos Sainz. Until then, stay safe. Thanks for watching, and speak to you soon.